Hello everyone, this is Andrew at Crown Academy of English. Today we are doing a grammar lesson all about adverbs of frequency. So let's start. So first of all, what are adverbs? Well, the definition of an adverb is a word that modifies a verb. So the adverb gives more information about the verb. So the verb describes an action, and the adverb gives us more information about that action. Example. So without an adverb, a very simple sentence, Jane is walking. And with an adverb, Jane is walking quickly. Quickly. So quickly is the adverb, and it gives us more information about the action. So quickly modifies the verb walk. So this is the action, walking, and quickly tells us how Jane is walking. Gives us more information, more details. Okay, so that is the definition of just a normal adverb. So, what are adverbs of frequency? Let's look at an example. So Mark plays tennis. So we are describing a habit. So that is why we are using the present simple. Mark sometimes plays tennis. Okay, so the word sometimes is an adverb of frequency. It is an adverb of frequency, and an adverb of frequency is an adverb of time. So it gives us more information about the time. And it describes, in fact, the frequency of an action. Okay, so it gives us more information about the frequency. And in this lesson, you will learn, first of all, the adverbs of indefinite frequency, and then the adverbs of definite frequency. Okay, so there are two types of adverb of frequency, and you will learn both types. And you will also learn the position of adverbs of frequency in the sentence. And at the end, there are some exercises. Okay? So let's start with the adverbs of indefinite frequency. So a definition. Adverbs of indefinite frequency give a general indication of the frequency. Okay, it is not an exact indication. It is not a specific indication of the frequency. So let's look at some examples. So if the level of frequency is maximum 100% of the time, then we say always. Example, I always play football. So 100% of the time, if you are playing football 100% of the time, you say I always play football. And the minimum frequency, so if you play football 0% of the time, then we use the adverb never. I never play football. So these are the two extremes, and in between never and always there are several other adverbs. So, example, so slightly more than never, we say rarely or hardly ever. I hardly ever play football. Then, slightly more frequent, we say seldom. I seldom play football. Then, we say occasionally. I occasionally play football. Then, in the middle, at 50%, approximately 50%, we say sometimes. I sometimes play football. So sometimes is neutral. It is in the middle. Now we have often. I often play football. Then we have usually. I usually play football. And then we have frequently. I frequently play football. Okay? So the numbers here, the percentages, they are not exact. Okay? Do not worry about the exact percentages. They are not important. But what is important is the relative order. For example, it is important to know that seldom is less frequent than often, and often is less frequent than frequently. So the relative order is important. Now, these last three lines, so seldom, rarely, hardly ever, and never, they all have a negative meaning. A negative meaning. Okay, so they have a negative frequency. So for example, if somebody asks you, do you often play football? Do you often play football? Then if the answer is no, you would say, no, I seldom play football. Or no, I rarely play football. So these three lines, they are negative in meaning. And all the others have a positive meaning. Okay, that's important. Okay, so these are the indefinite, the adverbs of indefinite frequency. Let's look at the position of the adverbs of indefinite frequency. So here is the list. Well, all of the adverbs of indefinite frequency can go before the main verb. So all of them, so it is a general rule, go before the main verb. For example, I always play football. Play is the main verb, and we put the adverb before it. Jane seldom drinks alcohol. Here is the verb, here is the adverb, before it. Now this one is interesting. I have never met the Queen. Okay, so if you notice here, there are in fact two verbs. We have the verb have, and we have the verb met, which is the past form of meet. but have is an auxiliary verb. It is not the main verb. This is the main verb, met. So the adverb goes before the main verb, only before the main verb, not before the auxiliary verb. Okay? So this is the general rule for all of these adverbs of indefinite frequency. This is the best position to put them in. Now, there is an exception. If the main verb is the verb to be, then the adverb of indefinite frequency is after the verb to be. Example, Mark is often late. Okay, Mark is often late. Another example would be Jane is never late. So the verb to be here, and here is the adverb. So this is an exception. And we also have some optional rules. Okay, so there are some optional rules if we want to change the position. So these adverbs, occasionally, sometimes, often, frequently, and usually, we can optionally put them at the beginning or end of a sentence. And it's only these adverbs. Example, sometimes I play football. We can see here we have put sometimes at the beginning of the sentence. We can also say Mark watches television occasionally. We can see here we have decided to put occasionally at the end of the sentence. And rarely can go at the end of a sentence. And we often put this with the word very. For example, we go to London very rarely. Okay? So this is the general rule. This is an exception for the verb to be. And if you want to change the position of the adverb, then you can use these optional rules here. Okay? Now, let's look at adverbs of definite frequency. So the definition is that adverbs of definite frequency describe the exact frequency of an action. So they are very specific. Example, I play football 3 times a month. So you can see it is very, very specific. We have the exact frequency. I go to school 5 times a week. So the form is a number, then the word times, then the word a, and then a period of time. For example, 3 times a month. There are 2 exceptions. If the number of times is 1, then we say once. We do not say 1 time. Example, I wash my car once a month. I wash my car once a month. We do not say 1 time a month. And if the number of times is 2, then we say twice. We do not say 2 times. Example, I go to London twice a year. twice a year. We do not say 2 times a year. Okay? So this is a very, very useful structure. Some more examples. Jane calls her mother every day. Mark goes to the beach every weekend. So here, the form is the word every and then a period of time. And very important, the period of time is in the singular form. So day is singular, weekend is singular. And here is a list of periods of time. These are the most common ones. Day, week, month, year, morning, evening, night, weekend, fortnight. Fortnight means 2 weeks. So for example, we could say Jane calls her mother every morning. Every morning, in the singular. Another example. Andrew watches football on Saturdays. My parents go to the cinema on Wednesdays. So here, the form is the word on and then the day of the week. And very important, the day of the week is in the plural form. Plural. On Saturdays. On Wednesdays. So this means Andrew watches football every Saturday. My parents go to the cinema every Wednesday. Okay? So it's a very useful expression. And we only use this for days of the week. Okay? And if you look at the position of these is it's better at the end. Every day is at the end of the sentence. And here as well. And here it is the same. So it is better to say these at the end of the sentence. An alternative would be right at the beginning of the sentence. So for example, you could say, on Saturdays, Andrew watches football. But it's slightly better at the end. Okay? And some more examples. We have adverbs like hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. And again, they mean every hour, every day, every week, every month, every year. Mark calls his wife daily. Calls his wife daily. So this means that Mark calls his wife every day. This is the adverb. And again, this goes at the end of the sentence. My boss pays me monthly. Monthly. So the position, these adverbs go at the end of the sentence. So after the verb and after the object, if there is an object. So both of these verbs, they have an object, his wife. So daily is after the object. And here the object is me. My boss is paying me. and so the adverb goes after the object. So, how do we ask a question about frequency? Well, we use the structure how often followed by the question form of the verb. Example: how often do you play football? How often do you play football? So we have how often, and then this is simply the question form of the verb. And here it is the present simple tense, but it could be another tense if we wanted. Here is another example. How often does Mark wash his car? So again, this is the present simple, but this time it is the third person singular. And the question form in the third person singular is, does Mark wash? Okay? Now here is one in the past tense, in the past simple. When you lived in London, how often did it rain? So we have how often, then we have the question form of the past simple. Did it rain? How often will you write to me? This time we are in the future simple tense. How often, followed by the question form of the future simple. Will you write? Okay? So this is how you ask somebody about the frequency of an action. Exercise. So these questions, they are open questions. So I would like you to write answers to these questions using every followed by the time period. So question 1, how often do you wash your hair? So you will give your answer, and I will give you a few seconds. So I will give you my answers. These are the answers for my situation. Well, I wash my hair every day. Every day. How often does your best friend call you? Well, my answer is, my best friend calls me every week. Every week. So notice how week is in the singular and day is in the singular, and they are at the end of the sentence. Write answers to these questions using the following form. So we saw this form earlier. Number times a period of time. How often do you go to the cinema? How often do you go to the cinema? Well, here is my answer. I go to the cinema once a month. Once a month. So remember, if the number is 1, we do not say one time, we say once. Once a month. How often do you brush your teeth? Well, my answer is, I brush my teeth 3 times a day. 3 times a day. Exercise 2. Complete the sentences using an adverb of indefinite frequency. So the sentence is, well, David Beckham frequently travels to America. Do you frequently travel to America also? And I want you to complete the sentence with an adverb of indefinite frequency. Well, the answer is no, I rarely travel to America. Rarely. So remember that because the sentence starts with no, then we must use one of the negative adverbs of indefinite frequency. Remember, we saw those earlier. They are seldom, rarely, hardly ever, or never. So any of these are correct. I chose rarely, but seldom is correct, hardly ever is correct, and never is correct. Question 2. So I want you to choose an appropriate adverb of indefinite frequency. Well, the answer is, well, Lionel Messi frequently scores goals. Frequently. Okay, so since he is a very, very good footballer, then we choose either frequently, usually, or often. Question 3. Well, this answer, it depends. It's for you to decide. I chose often. My English teacher often gives me homework. For this question, you could choose any of these adverbs. All of them would be correct. It depends on your English teacher. Okay? So, that is the end of the lesson. If you want to subscribe to my channel, then you can click here on the screen. Here is my Twitter account. And here are 3 other videos which you might be interested in watching. So to start one of the videos, simply click on the screen. Okay? My name is Andrew at Crown Academy of English. Thank you for watching, and I will see you very soon. Bye bye.